You've been lied to when it comes to investing. Financial experts make this sound so complicated so that you feel overwhelmed and you'll pay them to do it for you. In fact, 31% of you told me that you feel totally lost when it comes to investing. And that's exactly how they want you to feel. In fact, that's how I felt when I started investing 7 years ago. But with a few simple strategies, I have now built a 6-figure portfolio and I'm on my way to $1 million net worth. Now you have two choices. You can allow fear and confusion to keep you stuck, or you can punch fear in the face and start to build wealth so that you can retire someday. So let's talk about investing in a way that actually makes sense so that you can start investing with confidence. But if you're new here, hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome to The Choice Life. Quick housekeeping before we get started. I am not a financial advisor, so take nothing that I say as personal financial advice. Also, I'm just a random person on YouTube, so do your own due diligence and research before you make any investing decisions. And this video will be very information packed because I want it to be as valuable as possible for you. But in order for you to not have to memorize everything that I'm saying, I did create a free resource for you, and it's called the Beginner Investor Starter Kit. And it basically summarizes everything that I'm talking about in this video in an easy to follow quick reference guide. So if you would like this, then type kit in the comments below and I'll send it over to you. So what is investing? Well, I like to explain it like this. What if instead of you just drinking a Coca-Cola or using an iPhone, you could actually own a piece of those companies? And that when someone somewhere in the world buys a Coke or buys an iPhone, you could actually get a tiny piece of that profit. That right there is investing. It's that shift from being a consumer to becoming an owner. Investing is using your money to buy things that have the potential to grow in value over time, which will create more money for you. It's basically you putting your money to work to go make more money. So think back to that Coca-Cola analogy. As a consumer, you give them money in exchange for a drink and you'll never get that money back. But as an investor, you give them money in exchange for ownership, hoping that their success as a company becomes your success and you'll make more money. Okay, so I wanted to quickly address a question that most new investors have, and that is, why should I invest? Isn't it risky? And I would say absolutely, yeah, you're right. Investing is risky. And you may have heard stories about people losing all of their money in the stock market, and that fear is absolutely real. But here's the truth that not a lot of people like to admit. In today's world, not investing is also a massive risk. The real goal of investing is to do two things. One is to preserve the value of your money, and two is to grow the value of your money. And to show you what I mean, let's follow $1,000 on 3 different journeys over the next 30 years. Journey number 1, the mattress. So let's say you put $1,000 in cash under your mattress, and in 30 years, you go back to get it. So you'll still have $1,000 after 30 years, but how much can that money buy you? Well, significantly less than it could before. And that is because of inflation, which is the silent killer of the value of our dollars, and it eats away at its purchasing power every single day. Journey number 2, you save it. So let's say you put that same $1,000 into a high yield savings account earning 3% interest every year. And after 30 years, you'll have $2,427. And that's not bad. You more than doubled your money. Journey number 3, you invest it. So let's say you take that same $1,000 and you invest it into a low cost index fund, making an average 8% a year. And you do that over 30 years, you will have $10,062. Let that sink in for a moment. The same starting point and the same amount of time. The money that was in the market grew to be worth almost 5 times more than the money that was in the savings account. When you ask, is investing risky? The answer is yes. But the real question is, can you afford the risk of your money losing its purchasing power year over year and missing out on the growth that actually builds wealth? This is why we invest. Now that we understand what investing is and why it's important, let's talk about what you can invest in, starting with stocks. A stock is simply a share of ownership in a single company. So if you buy 1 share of Apple, then you're a part owner of Apple. Stocks are a great investment because as the companies grow and make more money, the value of your ownership or your stock goes up. Next, let's talk about bonds. A bond is a loan that you give to a company or a government because they need money to build things like a new factory or a new local park, and you can act as the bank. In return for your loan, they promise to pay you back in full after a certain number of years, and they pay you interest along the way. Bonds are a great investment because they're generally safer than stocks. You're the lender, not the owner, so they provide stability and income to your portfolio, and they balance out the ups and downs of the stock market. Okay, so let's be real. Trying to find that one single stock that's going to be the next Apple or Nvidia is nearly impossible. So instead of trying to pick a winning company, you simply own them all. This is the brilliance of an index fund. So an index fund is a single investment that automatically holds small pieces of hundreds or even thousands of companies that make up a market index like the S&P 500. So the moment you invest in one, you get immediate diversification because you're invested in the entire market, not just one or two companies. And because an index fund tracks a market index like the S&P 500, it is known as a passive investment. But if you don't have a lot of money to start with, the best way to take advantage of an index fund is through an exchange traded fund or an ETF. An ETF is basically an index fund that behaves like a stock. So it also holds a basket of hundreds of stocks, but it is bought and sold on the stock market just like a single share of Apple or Tesla. So you get all of the diversification benefits of a passive index fund while you get the ease and flexibility of being able to trade it like a stock. So how do you know which one to choose? Well, it comes down to two considerations, and the first one is your minimum investment. Many index funds have a high barrier of entry, requiring a minimum investment of $1,000 or sometimes $3,000. And for a lot of people, that's just not realistic. But ETFs, on the other hand, trade like a stock. So you only have to have enough to buy one single share. So if an ETF costs $50, then you only have to have $50 to get started. The second consideration is fractional shares. So this is where ETFs get even better because with many modern brokerages, you don't even need to have enough to buy a full share. You can buy fractional shares. So this allows you to buy a piece of a share instead of a whole share. So let's say an ETF is $50, but you only have $20. You can still invest in that ETF. So this completely removes the barrier of entry and allows you to start investing with whatever you have, $100, $20, $5, you can start investing. I believe ETFs are the perfect investment for beginners because they give you immediate diversification across hundreds of companies. They're a passive investment, so they have incredibly low expense ratios, and thanks to fractional shares, you can get started for the price of a coffee. So you get all of the benefits of owning the entire market in one simple low-cost purchase. So now that you know what you can buy, I want to share with you my 5-step roadmap for starting your investing journey the right way. So step 1, build your foundation. So before you build a skyscraper, you have to pour the concrete. And before you invest a single dollar, you have to make sure that your financial house is in order. And you do that by first paying off any high interest debt. I believe that high interest debt is an emergency. And if you're carrying credit card debt at 20% plus interest and you're trying to make 8% in the stock market, you're literally losing money. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole at the bottom. The math just doesn't work. So paying off that 20% card is a guaranteed tax-free 20% return on your money, and no other investment can give you that. The second thing you need to do is build an emergency fund. So at the very least, have 1 month of living expenses in a savings account. This isn't just smart. This fund is going to help you sleep at night. It makes sure that if a surprise car repair or a dental bill comes up, you don't have to sell your investments or go into debt for it. And look, I know this feels like a delay, especially when you just got fired up about investing, but trust me when I say this. This isn't a step before investing. This is the first step of investing. You're building a foundation that will allow your future wealth to grow securely for the rest of your life. So after you've built your foundation, you need to decide where you want to invest your money, and you have 3 options. The first one is an employer-sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k, a 403b, a 4 457 or a TSP. If your employer offers an account like this, especially with a matching contribution, this should be your first choice. When your company matches your contributions, that is literally free money, a guaranteed 100% rate of return that you cannot get anywhere else. So try to at least contribute enough to get the match. Next account is the Roth IRA. And I remember my insurance agent told me that I should invest in a Roth IRA, and I literally thought he was speaking Latin. I had no clue what he was talking about, and I remember telling him, "No, I don't think I need that." Oh my gosh, I think back to that and it's just like, girl, why? But I think the Roth IRA is one of the smartest decisions that a new investor can make by investing in that account, because the way it works is you put in after-tax dollars, but the money grows tax-free in that account, and then in retirement, when you pull the money out, you can pull it out completely tax-free. So you do not have to pay Uncle Sam a dime in retirement. But keep in mind, contribution limits do apply to this account. The third account is a taxable brokerage. So once you've maxed out your tax advantage accounts like your 401k and your Roth IRA, this is where all the extra money goes. This is a regular taxable investment account, and it's flexible, meaning that you can pull money out whenever you want and there's no contribution limits. So where do you go to open these accounts? Well, I would keep it simple by using highly regarded low-cost brokerage firms such as Fidelity, Vanguard, and Charles Schwab. All of these brokerage firms offer commission-free investing and super low fees. So my recommendation for new investors is to open a Roth IRA with one of these brokerage firms, and it takes less than 10 minutes to open an account and you can start building tax-free wealth. So if you would like a tutorial about how to open a Roth IRA, let me know in the comments below. So let's say, for example, you open a Roth IRA with Vanguard. Now you have to decide what you're going to invest in. So step 3 is keep it simple. So I would start investing in an ETF or an index fund because, like I said before, these offer instant diversification because you're investing in a whole basket of stocks instead of just one or two companies. So I'll put some examples of some ETFs and index funds with the different brokerage firms on the screen with their ticker symbol. So another option that I love, particularly in 401ks, is called the target date funds. And basically what this is you pick the year that you plan to retire, and they kind of rebalance your portfolio and your asset allocation as you get closer to retirement. So when you're 40 years away from retirement, you'll probably have 90% stocks and 10% bonds in this fund. But if you're 5 years away from retirement, you can have 60% stocks and 40% bonds. And it automatically changes your asset allocation the closer you get to retirement to make your portfolio more conservative. And I believe the target date funds are the perfect investment for the 401k. Now, of course, this is not investing advice. I'm just showing you the options that you can choose from. Step 4, set it and forget it. So you want to automate this process. So you want to create an automatic transfer from your checking account to your investment account every single month, even if it's a small amount, because when you automate your investments, it takes away the emotional decision making when it comes to investing, and it helps you to be more consistent. The 5th step of the investing roadmap is arguably the most important, but often the most overlooked step, and that is understanding fees and expense ratios. Do you want to know a dirty little secret about the investment industry? Their fees are a silent wealth killer. Now, there are 2 types of fees that you need to be aware of. The first one is an expense ratio, and that is a yearly operating fee that an ETF or an index fund charges. And the reason that I love index funds so much is because they typically have very low expense ratios, like 0.1% or even as low as 0.03%. So the second fee is a financial advisor fee. So many financial advisors charge 1% of the portfolio balance every year for managing your money, and they call it an assets under management fee. Now, 1% doesn't sound too bad, right? And getting professional advice for complex situations can be worth it, but you have to understand the long-term cost of these fees. So let's look at an example. Let's say in retirement, you built a $1.2 million portfolio. If you used a financial advisor and you paid a 1% annual fee, you would only end up with $1 million in retirement after fees. So that small 1% fee cost you $212,000. But if you instead invested in an index fund yourself with an expense ratio of 0.05%, you would have the full $1.2 million in retirement, and you would have only paid $11,000 in fees. This one decision made a $200,000 difference. So I hope I've made my point. Fees matter. So these 5 steps took me years to learn through trial and error, but now you have the complete roadmap. And if you would like all of this information in an easy to follow quick reference guide, then type KIT in the comments below and I'll send you my beginner investor starter kit. So let's quickly talk about some common mistakes that new investors should avoid. The first one is trying to time the market. And this is a big one for beginner investors because I find that a lot of people try to predict when the market is going to go up or when the market is going to go down before they start investing because they want to choose the perfect time to start investing. But remember this phrase: time in the market is always better than timing the market. So that basically means just get started. The best time to start investing is right now. So the second mistake is panic selling. So the market goes up and the market goes down. And sometimes it can go down a lot. And I believe it was 2020, the market dropped by 34% in just 5 weeks. And when a new investor sees that, they begin to panic and pull their money out at a loss. But the thing is, with every major crash, there was followed a strong recovery. So don't think of downturns as disasters. Think of them as opportunities to buy more because everything is on sale. Third mistake is FOMO, or the fear of missing out. So you might hear from your friends or coworkers about this new latest stock or new latest meme coin that's making everybody millionaires overnight. But here's the truth, that's a speculation and you're getting more into gambling instead of investing. And honestly, by the time you hear about it, it's already too late. So don't chase the fads, don't get caught up in the noise, and never invest in something that you don't understand. And just stick to your plan. Honestly, when it comes to investing, boring is best. Now you know more about investing than most people out there. And I hope that the fear and confusion is being replaced with confidence and excitement. To make sure you don't have to memorize all of this information, be sure to grab your free copy of the Beginner Investor Starter Kit. Just type KIT in the comments below and I'll send you the link. Your journey to becoming a 9-to-5 millionaire does not have to be complicated. It just requires following a consistent plan. And if you would like to learn how to make a plan to reach financial freedom through investing, then watch this video next and I'll see you there.